everyone, and welcome to Heart in the Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar, and I am your host, back again after unfortunately not being able to make it in last week for the show. So thank you to Cammy for stepping in. But I'm back in the chair this week and delighted to welcome two podders who more than make up for in sagacity what they lack in looks. First of all, it's Andy McGowan.
Hold on a minute, I'm looking up in sagacity. Why do you always use these big words?
It's just sagacity.
Sagacity.
Is in, so don't look up in sagacity.
Is it wisdom?
It's wisdom, there you go, see. But I've always said we're Reithian on here, Andy. We're here to educate as well as entertain. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to do that for you there. And a man who, when he's not busy getting by on his massive post office pension, is at Ibrox to watch the Rangers, it's Alan Bradley.
Hello there, yes. Pension, yeah. Winter fuel. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going there. I blame Hoggy or something. Hoggy's wife or something like that, David. Yeah.
Not quite right. But we'll let you get onto that particular rant later. But right now, let's just go back to Ibrox yesterday. Now, bit of a feel-good factor, and it felt unusual because it hasn't been like that for a while. Came after Thursday night with, I think it's fair to say, probably the first statement performance and win of the season, Andy, when we beat Malmo 2-0, when the only frustration from a European away trip, particularly one against a side that were a bit cocky, I thought. No wonder they've always beaten us right enough, but we beat them 2-0, should have been 6. That's the only complaint. A lot of players playing well. Back to Ibrox yesterday, and if you ever want a demonstration of why the phrase European hangover has become a cliche in football, can I just point you in the direction between 12 and 2 on the 29th of September in Govan. Flat, indeed, flatter than the proverbial witch's bosoms, I thought yesterday, Andy.
I wonder where you're going there. Well, I don't know about you, but I was quite looking forward to yesterday on the back of Thursday, but I was being realistic. You know, the chances of having a zinger, a performance on the back of Thursday were pretty slim because we've not got the depth, we've not got the physical rhythm that we need to be up to, and we might see later in the season. So I was quite looking forward to it. When I seen the team, I was quite looking forward to seeing Igaman. I was interested to see how the likes of Raskin would contribute. So there was loads of things there going into the game that I thought, this is, still excited about it. And I think, as we'll discuss, the first half is okay, but again, creating chances and finishing chances is still something that we've got a lot of work to do. The second half was where that hangover really kicked in. I mean, this was a hangover that Iron Brew and Square Slice were never going to remedy. It was bad.
Aye, it was. And Alan, I was kind of expecting, unfortunately, hoping for better, but kind of expected that. I think the short turnaround from an away game, manager spoke about it afterwards, and this is one of these subjects on which I don't think us as members of the public and football professionals are ever going to agree. Because of the amount of money that they earn, then it's very, very difficult to have much sympathy when they complain about, well, we had to play on Thursday night in Sweden and now we're playing at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. But equally, if you're tired, you're tired. It doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank, your body just does its own thing. And it happens so regularly with other clubs who are playing, in Europe and playing at high-level competition, that there probably is something in it, even if we are a bit unsympathetic about hearing it.
I think you're right, David. And yeah, there's the kind of, there's the voice of reason, and as you say, sitting in the cold light of day and going objectively and all about, and then suddenly our emotion gets in and we forget about all of that. But you're right. I mean, surely, we all remember, don't we? Even the likes of during Walter, I used to always say the game before we were playing in Europe, you could maybe drop something then, and the game after it. And as you say, it's not just ourselves. You look at some of the big leagues all over Europe, and you can see that's when people drop it. So, no, you're right. And I think, as you say, the manager did make that point as well. I mean, at the start of or going into the game, David, I had messaged John Cowden over Nathans, just doing a wee, all we want's 3 points, don't care how, and ideally 3 points, no injuries, no red cards, that'll do. But probably 20 minutes or so into the game, do you know the emotion and that comes in? At the end of the day, Davey, it's 4 games now and it's 4 clean sheets. But my God, that coming out of the stadium, you wouldn't have thought it, wouldn't you? And I don't know. I think it's just that whole, the gap already, at 5 points. We know we have to improve. The performance as well that we saw. Today now I'm looking at it and I'm going, look, we've seen these horrible things before. It's still 4, it's sort of 4 wins, clean sheet. But at the time, I don't know. And I think, as Andy said too, I think we started no bad. It was a wee bit, the pace as well, it kind of slowed down, second half in particular. And again, it's that whole scar tissue, David. Andy says that we need to score more. Always at 1-0. You're just always waiting for it again, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh, when Hibs got a corner, 93 minutes, 46 seconds of a 94-minute game. Yes, scar tissue is a very phrase. You're just sitting waiting on the worst. But they did see it out, and in the end, it is a 3 points. Andy, I want to go through, first of all, there are not a lot of incidents in the game. I agree with you, by the way, about the first half. I thought Rangers were decent. I thought Hibs played a wee bit differently to what I expected. Generally speaking, Hibs come and have a go at Ibrox, and it means that they take some beatings sometimes, but it also means occasionally they do get a result. And I've no right to tell clubs out with us what they should do when they come to Ibrox, but my view on it has always been that rather than coming and putting 10 men behind the ball and getting beat anyway, I think you're as well coming having a go. Okay, you might take a down occasionally, but nobody's going to hold that against you. But then you do get the victory every so often, or you do get at least something out of it. But they came and they were tight for about 40 minutes. They came out just before half time, and then I thought from then to about the 70th minute, that's when they looked, I thought, pretty dangerous. And then I felt they sort of petered out a wee bit, although I didn't necessarily feel that at the time. It's more watching it back. And I don't know. I think Rangers just, in that period was the period I thought we might concede. But after that, I think that Rangers had their number a wee bit in terms defensively anyway.
I mean, what worried me yesterday, I'm not going to go straight to a negative, but what worried me yesterday is we obviously have now, weeks ago we were talking about style of play, identity, all this kind of stuff. I think it's kind of coming through quite strongly now that we are much more committed to playing for the back, across the goalkeeper, across our 6-yard box at times. And the idea is that we'll draw teams out and we'll get patience. And to be honest, the crowd's got a bit of patience now because we can see it. And we'll pick our moments to have a wee injection pass. This is why Barron's so important, because he's the guy that can do it. And try and move through the gears through the team. So Hibs I think they were wise to that yesterday. They weren't overcommitting or pressing, whereas Celtic have got the players that can actually press us with that when we try to do that. And what worried me was that we had so much of the possession, but they were still creating chances. And I was like, right, well, that's not a good sign. They're cutting through us too easily. And when we created chances, they weren't really clear cut. And you had the two inverted wingers. You had Cherny, you had Ross McCausland left-footed on the right side and vice versa. And I don't know if it was working. And I know that's what Clement likes. And I know the reason he does it. And I know he likes Hefty, whatever his name is, coming in after line and try to run into the channels with the ball, which he's very, very good at. So it wasn't quite working yesterday, but and eventually it took a bit of magic to actually break the deadlock. So there was a lot going on there in that first half, but I was still quite satisfied and I was quite enjoying it. And I didn't feel as if the game was in danger at any point in the first half. So my takeaways were that I think we badly missed Diamandi. I think that this playing for the back that we've got, where Suter and Proper will go wide and then narrow and vice versa and just move the ball between them, and then eventually I'll go to a midfielder. That tactic is only as good as the Diamandi and Barron in front of them, because I think we lost a wee bit of that with Raskin, because Raskin he didn't show the ability to turn Raskin, with the ball.
He's not a great passer, and he can't take the ball in a half turn. I think the way that Dio can take the ball with somebody coming towards him to press and just spin away for the guy. Kamara could do it as well, actually. He was quite reminiscent.
I think that hurt us a wee bit in terms of progressing through the gears yesterday. And this is where I'm not going to be harsh on Raskin, but it's a game where we have a right to assess where he's at and what he's going to contribute to the squad, because he's not quite reached the heights that we hoped, and he's no. How can I say this in the right way? Because I'm not writing him off. He's not doing enough. he's winning the ball back. He adds a wee bit of tenacity in terms of ball recovery, but his quality on the ball, his forward passing, attacking threat, all that kind of stuff, it's nowhere we need it to be. And he's got a big challenge ahead of him to fulfil the career that he should be fulfilling as a Belgian under-21. So that was my takeaway for the first half. And the other thing I would probably put in the mix here, Davey, is Tom Lawrence. So Tom Lawrence, I think, has been one of our better players over the season. Right? Some folk will disagree with that. But being a number 10, a lot of responsibility, especially being a Rangers number 10, you've got to try things that might not come off. And I think a lot of your fans don't react well to it when they don't. But I think he's been contributing well lately. And I think, strangely enough, in the last 3 weeks since Ramis came in, it's taken a wee bit of pressure off him because we've got another bona fide creative player that's got danger. And I think the fact that we've got both of them in the team might not be ideal because we might well have been expecting Bizrami to go to number 10, play centrally, and I'd quite like to see him there, to be honest with you. But I think the fact that we've got two in the team adds a wee bit more to us. And I know he wasn't playing first half yesterday, but he came on second half. But the point I'm making here is Lawrence is a moments player. Number 10s are moments players. And he created a moment of brilliance yesterday that pulled us out of the shit, to be quite honest with you. It was a fantastic piece of skill. He's capable of it. I'd love to see him shoot more. I don't mind players shooting at all. And I think it's just a wee nod towards Lawrence and that he's contributed well. Am I even going to say this? He's been fit. He's been keeping fit. I'm touching wood as I say that. And he's got a role to play. So I'm kind of delighted for Lawrence because a lot of us kind of wrote him off or we expect him to be a bit part at best. I think he's contributed more since the Celtic game than we've probably given him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of players, he's one of them this week, that I want to pick out because I've been harsh on them in the past. And I think the thing with Lawrence is, one of the things that he's got is this pleasing knack for important goals. That's 2 goals, 6 points in the last few weeks. And that's a nice habit for any footballer to have. But yeah, moments of quality like that. And he is. He's playing. He's doing the job that the manager wants him to do. He's intelligent. He had a good game the other night as well. And then, as you say, it was a match winner yesterday. I mean, a fabulous goal. Really, genuinely was. The step inside, and then he sets it so far outside the post, and then it comes to the top corner. Just an absolute peach. The other big moment in the half, of course, the one that there were 2 incidents, I think, in this match that decided it. One was that goal. Lengthy VAR check for offside, and a Hibs player had gone down, but they got it right. He was onside, and the Hibs player had chucked himself to the ground, wanting a free kick, as defenders often do when they've got bodies around them, but there was no contact. But then a penalty for Hibs, again VAR, for a handball by John Souttar. Now, this is kind of split, Alan. Most people that most groups of friends and whatnot, and you know, us on Heart and Hand have been debating it. Some feel one way, some feel the other. I think that our listeners on the Patreon site have been the same. Some absolutely for it. Some absolutely no, that's never a penalty. The manager, very against it, demonstrated in his press conference that why a defender can't. And I will say this for the manager, by the way, Alan, he has been absolutely consistent in that. I think as a former defensive player, he hates that. He hates the whole, you know, if the ball gets kicked into your arm, it's a penalty thing. So he has been fairly vocal and consistent on that one. Personally, I think it's a penalty. I thought it was a penalty at the time, and I've seen it a few times since, and it hasn't changed my mind on it. I actually think the ball's goal bound. I think it's going in. And I think Souttar is trying to block, but his arm is up and it hits his arm. I think the ref was right not to book him because in no way is that deliberate, but it has prevented the ball going in the net, and I think, therefore, a penalty was the right decision for it. We'll talk about the manager's comments about consistency because I think he is onto something there. But first of all, your view on the incident, did you think it was a penalty?
I didn't see it at the time, during the game. It was like, oh, there's a VAR check. And then obviously through, having a look at phones and so on. Uh, Looking at it now, David, being the old school, it's the guy, what is it, the ball play the man or the man play the ball. But I think, to be honest with you, if it had been up the other end, David, I'd have been absolutely screaming for it.
That's what I go on. Yeah.
And do you get what I mean? And you can do all, so you can do the old... And I agree, as you say, the manager has been consistent with it. The other thing as well with this, and I think we've heard it over the past couple of years or since VAR came in, it's the old nonsense about, well, this is the rule, but other people saying, yeah, I know that's the rule, but in my mind, So I think ultimately it came down to them looking to it, the people at VAR as well, and giving it. And again, I think it was good, though, the fact that Suter never got kind of penalised in terms of, booking or a red card or whatever.
I hate that. I hate when a defender has not done any. If someone goes in for a tackle, mistimes it, that's a different thing. There's a decision there, and he's got it wrong. But what is basically an accident, and you see it in games. Any game you watch the TV, it'll happen, and the ref just books a guy, and I'm like, that's what was he supposed to do? Right? I mean, the penalty I think is enough. You're being punished, so I think the penalty is enough for that one. Andy, Alan mentioned something there that what I always go on is, would I want that had it been at the other end? And I would have been apoplectic if we hadn't got a penalty for that one.
Never a penalty.
There you go.
I'm only joking. That was... I was trying to look up, see what Michael Stewart said, to see if he flip-flops biomechanics at one end.
Andy, I didn't want to give him a mention, mate. I was always going there.
I'll mention him every week because I fucking did it. Sorry. It's, I was a penalty because, as Alan says, we've got to be honest here, if that's the other end, it's we're screaming for it.
Yeah.
It's a yard away from, and, there was a wee slight movement up with the arm, but you've got to put yourself in a position. The ball's going to scalp you in the chops. You're going to involuntarily move your arm up to stop that from happening. So I think it was the right decision. I think VAR got it right. I think that's two examples in that match in short space of time where VAR earns its corn, because let's not forget that last season was ruled it. But it was the right passage of what's supposed to happen, isn't it? But the penalty sale, 100% a penalty, and what was I going to say? I was going to say, Suter's got a wee bit of habit of that, but he is puts his body on the line.
He does it quite a lot, and usually does it well, doesn't he? Throws himself in.
I think it's an occupational hazard. If you're going to chuck yourself, if he hasn't chucked himself in for that block, Andy, I'm very upset with him. And it's in the net, and I'm annoyed at him. And as Alan says, he gets it right a lot. On that, then you've actually just taken us into the kind of next part, which is the consistency. Now, the manager said, and he's right, that it was spoken about in the summer. Willie Collum spoke about it, and he said, look, we've told the clubs that we're not going to give penalties where it's too close and the guy has no awareness of it and the arm's in a natural position. And there was one a few weeks ago where the Celtic player with Scales that wasn't given. I think that's a fair shout. I suppose it just comes down to subjective things. I thought the Celtic one was a penalty, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, I don't like the handball thing, so I'm glad it's not been given. But yeah, he's right that, okay, we know there's still a subjective thing, but surely you try and establish some sort of protocol or use these as examples to say penalty, not a penalty, etc. So refs are kind of guided in that way.
I think, first of all, I don't know if Clement's right? He's saying it's not a penalty, and we're all saying it as a penalty. But I was actually quite delighted to see us make an issue out of it. Now, whether that's deliberate or no, I don't know. But for a wee bit too long, we've been too passive as a club in terms of fighting our own corner. And would they have had more credence yesterday if he says, it is a penalty, but listen, the consistency's out the window here and we really need to get a grip of it. I think he said that, but he was saying it's not a penalty. And he said something along the lines of, I look forward to the explanation during the week. And he didn't say it in a snide way or attacking the refereeing fraternity way, but he's correct in that, you're going to have to explain this one to us where we've got that instance and that instance, that's a penalty, that's not a penalty. And it's to your point, David, about subjectivity. It's a wee bit frustrating But the bigger picture here is I would like us to continue to highlight things like this in the right way, because, not to drag the pod in a different direction, but we have suffered from marginal decisions go against us time and time again in recent history in the major games that count.
Andy, I think you've made a great point. I think what is good with our manager as well is, since Far's came in, he's consistently said, I'm actually all for it, because I want to have as minimal, or as few, of subjectivity rather than objective. So the thing is, he has been consistent as well, going, no, I actually think it would be better. And as you say, I think it is good that he has now come up with this and said, well, I sort of don't agree with it. But at least he's not just seen as one of those guys at the end of it, where, for example, and again, where if we had maybe lost the game, sour grapes. But as you say, I think
that's a good time to do it. If you're going to do it, because nobody can accuse you. You can't be written off with saying, well, you're just saying that because, we won. So he's not saying that because.
You're in the press conferences, David. You probably get the true essence, but I think he's been reasonable throughout. I mean, you think back to the incident last season.
He didn't lose the plot or anything. He wasn't, upset. And I know a lot of people are saying, he stood up and he did the thing. Okay. I think he just thinks that's a perfectly normal thing to do. I think that's the Scottish thing in us, that we all go, don't make a show of yourself. And I think that's a mentality thing over here, where we tend to just, keep our heads down. But he wasn't raging or anything. He was just explaining why he doesn't think it was a penalty. And it was, 2 minutes of a 15-minute press conference.
But he kind of...
he's also been, I think it was this season, but he had we've sat down with the referees as well and so on. So I think he has consistently been pretty positive and balanced and all it. So when he does make comments like this, I think they will give him a wee bit more kind of a, so he's not the type of guy that just rants and he's anti this and anti that, So The only other thing I was going to say too is, I've got fed up. It's not quite creeped into it, but remember, people used to laugh at Kashina or whatever to do with it's the funny foreigner type of thing. And it does. I think there's a danger that's beginning to come across a wee bit, as if Clement's and that. I don't like that, because I think the guy is a kind of sensible, serious, type of guy. So I think we just need to watch. It's just creeping over a wee bit, and some of the kind of media, the kind of mainstream stuff, and some of the way things are reported,
I think that's what's going to happen to a manager who isn't. I think that's more to do with us than it is to do with them. Because you look back on the Pedro stuff, he gets slaughtered for stuff that was perfectly, to him, normal and sensible. And I think it's us that we don't like that kind of thing over here, or we don't expect it.
Culture.
So it seems wild to do that. But I think it's a minor thing. And I put a photograph out of it, and somebody said, well done that. Everybody's memeing that now, and I'm like, wow, memes, how will our club ever recover? Right? I mean, it doesn't matter, right? We won the game. That's the important thing. Penalty saved by Jack Butland, an excellent save. I do like when players try that daft run up and it doesn't go right for them, because I think what happened yesterday, that stuttery run up, the reason for it, and it does work for a lot of people, by the way, is to give you time to see which way the goalkeeper goes. But he wasn't looking up at watch it. He's not looking at the keeper. He's looking at the ball. So I think he actually in that time changes his mind. I think he diddled himself.
Yeah, David, we all know that you got 55 for us, because you were in the ground when we weren't. So that's a given. No, I was on
Suki Bass.
No, Andy, hold it just now.
Science. So you can't argue,
we've got to manage. You've got to manage by fact here. So I was on with Cammy, in terms of the extra one. Now clearly I haven't been podding for a while, and Cammy asked me on the day before, we go and we win in Europe, don't we? So I'm just saying that we've started in Eastern Closure doing if we're critical of someone, they usually do something positive, and we go, right, we're going to have to get in his back. So they get the penalty. So as you expect, you may probably heard it, David, up in the presser, and I'm saying to the guys there, he's never even getting near a penalty. Anytime we get a penalty against him, he falls. He never gets near it. Look at McGregor, look at this one, look at that one. Do you know what I mean, Davey? I'm just saying, but there's definitely some links, isn't there? Yeah.
You were doing the, what do you call it, tempting fate. trying to
That
take
was the
fate
one.
in a positive fashion, and it worked. But it wasn't a great penalty, but it still needs saved, and it was a huge moment really, because you go in at 1-1 and then the fall off in the second half. Who knows what happens on that, Andy? I do think the manager got something wrong, and it was taking off Raskin. I don't think Raskin had played particularly well in the first half, don't get me wrong, but I think he'd shored up a lot of the space, and therefore we were able to have control of the midfield. The manager put Dowell on as a more attacking option, and to try and get us forward. I didn't think it worked.
I can see why you put him on. So if we're talking earlier on about Raskin and his kind of weakness in terms of forward passing, he tries passes, he gives the ball away quite a lot for a midfielder, in my opinion. And when they brought Dowell on, I wasn't ecstatic, because I'm not exactly a fan of Dowell.
No,
and I think
I agree with both. I agree with your take on Raskin. I agree with your point. I think Raskin does give the ball away. I think his passing isn't anywhere near as good as it needs to be for a Rangers player. No. But I think he was doing a lot of the kind of work and solid work that went out the window. And I think for the first 20 minutes, he's saying, I'm like, I don't really see the point of Dowell, and I hope he proves me wrong. I'm just about to mention a player who's doing that, but I don't get it.
Physicality wise is a problem. He just doesn't film me. He doesn't own the midfield.
I saw him when he first came. I thought, "Your beauty, left-sided Kevin Thompson." Do you know what I mean? How far away is that?
But I can see why he brought him on. He brought him on for forward passing and progressive play. Yeah. And I thought he did all right yesterday, but simultaneously did all right, but we lost control in the middle of the park because they changed their formation a wee bit and they pushed more people forward. And I don't know, Davey Allen, Dowell's he's symptomatic of the squad we've got, and he's symptomatic of the signings that have preceded come on and what he's got to work with. And I'd prefer to see him in number 10 than in that deeper role, because his physicality is just so.
He just gets shoved aside at times, doesn't he?
And he can't. He's no power running. Can't keep up with folk. He's no for me at all. I'd rather see him further up the park where he might get a through ball or a shot from him. But needs must. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, I think that's fair. But Rangers did. You're right, Hibs changed tactics. Rangers readjusted, and as I say, from about 70 minutes, the match was not quite as in limbo as it had been up to then. And one of the areas of the team that's made that is the defence, which the guy I wanted to pick out first of all was John Souttar, who I said at the start of the season, after a couple of games on here, that and particularly after the Celtic game, I don't think he's for us, because although he has some good qualities, he doesn't lead the defence, and we need him, or the person playing his role, to lead the defence. Where the last few games he absolutely has. I thought his game against Malmo was the best I've seen him. But I think the last year I thought he was the man of the match again at the weekend. And I think that the run of form he's been on has been excellent. But it's not simply that he's playing well as an individual. He is transferring it, I think, confidence into the rest of the defence proper, and him seem to be forging a bit of an understanding. I think that the fullbacks are, defensively doing what they need to do. Jeffrey's been very good. Tav, not the level that we've come to expect from him, but still been reasonably diligent at the back. But yeah, the defence, I think the last month, Andy, has grown. And I do think the last couple of games it's been very noticeable.
It doesn't happen by accident. I think I thought we defended our 6-yard box really, really well yesterday. You're talking earlier on about the corner kick, set pieces, constant long throw-ins for their right back. That can cause good teams problems, and they were a bigger team than us, and I've often spoke about our physicality problem as a team. I think they're the wrong side of week, and Souttar, who, like you, Davey, I've been quite sceptical of. I think he's got a mistake in him here or there, and I think I've questioned his leadership and stuff like that. And he's kind of answered me a couple of times now. And
same. I feel that way.
To the point where I'm kind of like, well, you're proving me wrong. And I thought yesterday was an example, but also I think Proper showed a lot of desire and a lot of attributes that we bought him for. and I like to see defenders celebrating blocks and all this kind of stuff. I know it sounds, some folk don't like that, but I like to see that. That's what they're there for. They can win matches, and for the money we paid for them, right? So it's got to be held in the context of what we paid for them. I think proper looks all right. Folk are looking at him and saying, "Oh, he's no answering. He's a wee bit slow, and is he any better than Goldson?" Blah blah blah. Well, all those are valid questions, but for $1.5 million, I think he's a good spot, and he's contributing, and he's forming a decent partnership with Suter. I think
it's helping Suter. I mean, geez, my age away. Andy, you played centre half as well, but typically you'd have maybe centre half attacking, sweeper, so there'd be one guy initially, and I think Suter now, he does more of it, but as you say, he is capable of it, but I think it's better now for Suter because he's going, you clear it, I'll do that one, and he's confident now between the two of them that he's got his kind of partner with them. You've said playing out of the back as well. At times I think it's more Jack that makes me nervous with some of the stuff, playing at the back, but I think the two of them link up well. But I think it's allowing Suter now to just think, I'm going for it. Aggressively, I'm going in, I'm clearing it, or I'm blocking. Suter, and obviously the two of them work really well. So, and ultimately, when it comes down to results, 4 clean sheets so far?
Yeah, I think sometimes chemistry, you can be better as a duo than you maybe are as a single player, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the two of them become more than the sum of their parts, and you need a chemistry. I mean, I go back to when Advocat came in and he had Amaruso and Colin Hendry and Craig Moore, and he picked Moore, and we were all going, why is he picking Moore? He's got Hendry there. We've just spent X amount of money. And he knew because him and Amo were a good partnership. And
yes,
there was they gelled, and I'm hoping I'm seeing that. I don't want to, it is early doors, but sometimes if you just get the right combo, because it's what Alan said there, it's about understanding and trust. And trusting what the other person does. And I don't think Goldson and Suter gelled because Suter was having to play. I think he wants to play the role Goldson played. And that's what he's doing just now, by the way, and doing it very well. But I think that because of that, Suter had to inhibit and not play his natural game, and he was on the wrong side. But all of that, I think, recently we've seen.
He gives a calmness as well, doesn't he, Proper? Yes, he gives a wee bit more of a calmness as well to them, yeah.
I think so, yeah. There is a lack of pace there, but you can make up for that with game intelligence, I think, and positional sense.
The defensively, I mean, you're talking about Jeff, and he for some reason we had a question mark over him at the start. I think defensively he's been very good, right? He's solid. His pace gives him a lot of allowance to catch back if he needs to be. Defensively speaking, I'm more concerned about what's in front of the back four, to be quite brutally honest with you, because I think our teams move far too quickly through us from the front to back, and that's not an easy thing to fix. And this is what worries me, because and it's why Sterling is still somebody that I think we should be utilising for certain games in the middle of the park. Not for every game.
Though, this season.
He's been poor, David, and he was poor the other week when he started, and it was because we were asking him to do more a footballing job than a physicality job. But when he eventually moved into the middle of the park yesterday, as we kind of shored the game up, I still think we need more players that can do that, not just Sterling, right? I'm talking about Sterling because he's the only guy, really, we've got in our squad that you could say, plonk him in the middle of the park, he'll shore it up and he'll put his cell about and stop the kind of physical overpowerment. But you've got Dessers for the front, doesn't really hold the ball. You've got Czerny yesterday is really weak on the ball, right? And defensively, he's to have no help at all, really. And I'm not talking about cutting out cross balls. Cutting out cross balls is a hard thing to do. You can defend your 6-yard box, but I'm just talking about holding the ball, being strong. And then you be McCausland, works manfully. I think he's okay. So middle of the park, front to back, I'm worried about how teams move through so quickly. And that's a team thing, and it's a squad thing, and it's a personnel thing, and we'll not fix it because I'm really worried about some of the Europa games.
Andy, it worked good on Thursday. I thought the guys in front, but then Diamandi, who hadn't been playing so great, but I thought on Thursday with the likes of him and wee Connor Byrne and that, I thought they gave them a bit more of the, so between the defence and the midfield. But you're absolutely right. On Sunday, it was like, geez, it was like a kind of knife through. I mean, was it something like 14 shots? I know there's only several at target, but that shouldn't really be happening, shouldn't it?
And when we play better teams, it will hurt us, David.
I think we're one short of midfield. I agree. I think we are a bit in it. The fact that we were looking for midfielders in the summer, I think it's suggestive of that. I think we are missing somebody to go in and play next to Barron. I think sometimes he's left doing two people's jobs. And yeah, I think we are definitely that player short in there. Alan, you're in the enclosure. Cherny seemed to have a bit of a ding-dong with the enclosure from what I saw yesterday. Tough to agree with Andy. I think that's the thing about him. He's looked weak to me. He gets shoved off the ball constantly and way too easy for me.
He done it. I mean, Parkhead in particular, it stuck out. He's got that ball. He tries his wee cut and he loses it, or somebody just kind of leans on him and take it away. And as Andy says, he's like, well, that's that. Teams just go right down and they exploit down that side of it, and he keeps on doing it. I think at one point, let's just say after the wee engagement, at one point we went, look at him, he's not even coming over to us now. He's actually kind of a wee bit more into the middle, because it definitely needs to do far more. Like you've said as well, I mean, at least with McCausland now, he learned. I mean, he came on at first and he didn't know to kind of track back and cover and so on. But every time, everyone seems to know what Cherny's doing. When I saw the obligatory YouTube stuff, I went on, I'm thinking, yeah, beauty, the no-look passes. I'm thinking about Davy Cooper, and I know it's terrible, but my goodness, Davy Cooper was never a one-trick pony. At the moment, this guy, he hasn't really got the pace, but it's the fact that he just gets brushed aside. And my big worry as well is, and it's the same with Lammers, there's certain players where you go, yeah, technically they can maybe do things in the right league and so on, but the see the likes in Scotland and that, you can't, even against mediocre guys, they'll just brush you aside. And then again, all that happens is people go, he's out of the game, let's just overload down there, yeah. And at the end of it, and I've seen it with the Cammy Fraser or Ali McCoy or whatever it would be, but you need to, I think Dessers did it a wee bit as well at Hampden, and as much as it's frustrating and so on, guys, you just need to get your head down and you just need to try and work harder, yeah.
It was Ali who said it after an incident with one of his players in the lower leagues. There was a bit of that, and he said, you're not going to win. It's that simple. No. The crowd don't change for you. You need to change for them. So there's no point doing it, and I agree. I understand his frustration because he knows he's not playing well, incidentally. Football's aren't daft. But I do worry about the physicality side of it as well, because, skill is something that if you're playing well, you'll show, and if you're not, you don't. We get that. But that side of the game should still be taking care of itself, even if you're not playing well. That's application in a way, physical application. So, that's definitely a concern. But just a very brief cameo from him yesterday. Casemiro, excellent game, I thought, the other night. Came on, about 5
He looked comfy, didn't he, again?
He immediately came on, won the ball back 3 times and passed it to a Rangers player, and just with no absolute, taking sweeties off a Wayne. The Hibs players were running at him and he just took the ball off him, spun away,
moved his way up
and passed it to a Rangers player. And I just thought, that is a boy that knows how to defend. Right now, there's other things to being a fullback, we know. But from what I've seen of him so far, he is an absolutely comfortable, natural defender. That's something that you don't always get with modern fullbacks.
We've said it before. Jamie Carragher, I think, said it. And you've got to have this, to be a defender, you've got to have a kind of, this is going to happen, worst case scenario, I'm ready. David Weir had it. Maybe it could happen. 9 times out of 10 it won't happen. But when it does, you've anticipated. And that's where, as you say, the natural defenders have got it. Tav, God bless him, but Tav doesn't have it. He's got more the striker attitude. Everything will be fine. Oh, shit. But you've got to have, defensively, you've always got to be thinking, is that guy there, is he going to? And as you say, just what I've seen, the initial stuff I've seen with him, he's got that mentality, and that's what we need.
So we got the victory, not the most memorable game I think anyone will ever attend. Andy, this week we have Leon at home. Be a very tough game, as we know. They're a good side, a lot of pace up front, but big European night at Ibrox. We have another home game Sunday, but this time not till 8 o'clock. No travel and 8 o'clock kickoff. Can't really use the short turnaround excuse next week, I would think it's safe to say.
No. If we're serious about anything, then we need to get into this rhythm. And we've done it before. Problem this season is that the squad's not up to speed. You've got a number of players that are I'm thinking about Cortez here and Danilo, players that should be in there and really contributing to the squad for a game like St Johnstone, never mind the Lyon game, for the bench. We're kind of missing that wee bit, and it's a slight frailty we're not quite up to speed. There's signs yet. But a big test on Thursday against Lyon. Good team, good players, really good playmakers, and it's a massive step up. The hardest game of the season we had on Celtic, and it'll be nice to see where we're at. If I'm being really pessimistic, then if we get a wee mini tanking or whatever, then we've got to pick ourselves up and get on with it, because this Europa League season will deliver a few of those to us, I think. So we've got to keep our eye on the domestic ball as much as the European exploits excite us all. And again, the support, I'm talking about myself here, I'm talking about all of us, we've got to keep the heat if that does come to pass. And I know I'm talking in pessimistic terms here, but we have to contextualise it, and it would become a strength domestically if we could do that. The Champions League season a couple of years ago really hurt us mentally, hurt us. I think it hurt our pride, to be quite honest with you. And we've just got to guard against letting things that happen in Europe totally derail what happens domestically. Alan, you spoke earlier on about the 5-point gap. I'm not thinking about that just now, right? And I think for us to get where we need to be, I think I said a couple of weeks ago in the flagship, Davey, we are in game-by-game territory, and I think the longer we keep that mentality, the better. And we reset after every game, whether it's been a good result or a bad result. Malm was an example. We get really high there, and then we come back in Sunday, and we're probably, the supporters, a wee bit too high. We've just got to take it game by game.
I think, Andy, we were one goal losing, conceding a goal on Sunday, for example, and drawn, going from such a high on Thursday to, oh my goodness, here we go again. Who wants to burn things down? So I agree with you, and it is the old Rangers da, but we have, there's definitely this journey, and I think we do have to be patient. And I know it's the old staunch, no, we're Rangers, we've got to win everything and so on, but I don't know, I've got a feeling, David, maybe even over the last month or so or few weeks, I think quite a lot of the support are beginning to, I know there's the usual Wild West stuff on social media, but I think we are thinking to ourselves, no, it's going to take a wee bit of time. These guys are going to begin to gel. Okay, we're going to need another maybe January, potentially the summer, to start building. It is going to be tough, and hopefully we won't have one of these bumps in the road, for a while, bumps in the road, but I think we have. It's time and patience again, and ultimately that will reap its rewards. Do you know what I mean? I think we just need to kind of stick with it and just do what we're doing, David. Just try to keep supporting them,
Yeah, I think the key this season is don't get too high and don't get too low.
Yeah,
right, because there will be highs and lows this season. That's a fact, and I agree with you. I think the vast majority of fans are like that because you can complain and moan and rant and go on social media, etc., and do that. It's not going to get us where we need to go any quicker. That's just a fact. So I think most fans are realistic about that. Of course, you'll always get the guys that, and it's both ways. Any chink of light, it's everything's brilliant. Any kind of negative, everything's awful. That will happen, but I do think the vast majority are kind of fairly realistic. That said, I kind of hope Andy's pessimism is misplaced this week. We go out and at least, because we're more than capable of giving them a game. Now, whether we're good enough to go and actually beat them, we'll see. But we are capable of going out there if we're organised, diligent, work hard, and probably the key thing for this Rangers team in any game, take our bloody chances. Then I think we will certainly...
Under the lights... Under the lights, David, at Ibrox, first goal, and at the risk of being called a sook again with Andy, I think you're absolutely 100 right, Mr. Edgar. I think you're 100% right.
Listen, Alan, remember when the Hibs player was going to take that penalty on Sunday? And you heard the ghost train noise? Did you hear that coming? That was me. So actually, I saved the penalty.
I thought that was you with the siren.
That's what I mean.
I thought that was you. Yeah, I was like, that'll be big Andy with siren. Right then, folks, that will do us for this week here on Heart and Hand. Cammy will be back on Friday to go through what happened in the Leon match. We'll be back here next week to go through what happened in the St Johnstone match. In the meantime, you can catch up with all the latest shows on Heart and Hand over on Heart and Hand on Patreon, patreon.com/Heart and Hand. Thanks to our producers Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and my thanks to, first of all, Andy McGowan and to Alan Bradley.
I can't follow that, David, but thanks anyway.
that one won. I'm trying to work out how I can get Wee U as the show title, but I'll need to work on the spelling.
We are the people.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Right then, folks, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.